Hello everyone, welcome back to IndianCoding.com. Today we are going to study about React lifecycle. So we will see what is the life cycle of component here. Okay. So each component in React Native has a life cycle which you can monitor and manipulate during the three main phases. Okay, so in that case, there are three main phases that are available, and in that three main phases, you can define the life cycle of the component. Okay, so the first one we are having is mounting, second one is updating, and the third one is unmounting. Okay, so the first one we are going to see what is mounting here. Okay, so in that case, let's see what is the mounting part. So mounting means putting elements into the DOM. React has a four built-in method that gets called in this order when mounting is component. Okay, so the updating one is to update the particular React Native. Fine. So for that we need to study what is updating means. Fine. So these are the three kinds of detail and we will study about those only. So as I told you, mounting means putting elements into the DOM. DOM memory is available. Inside that we have to put the elements. We have to put the information about those elements that is available. Okay, so that is what mounting called. Okay, there is a constructor and we usually work for that constructor. So in that case, first you have to create the constructor, get the derived state from the properties and render, and the component did mounting. This is the format how you can use it. Fine. So another thing is the render of method is required and will always be called. Okay, whenever you are working on the mounting, you have to call the render of method. Fine, and the others are optional and will called if you define them. If you need to define them, then only you need to call them, otherwise you want to. Okay, so inside the person you can see I have used the render method. Okay, and just yeah sorry, so inside this you can see I have used the render method. So that is how you can work on it. Fine. So the another thing is I told you, like, before anything else you have to call it when the computer is initiated. So the constructor method is called before anything else. First you have to call the constructor method, then only you can call the other component. Okay, so that is what the constructor method is work for. There is one example is already available. So I have provided one example. You can check on that example. This is the example I have mentioned. You can work on this example, or just write it, just pause this video and write this example and try to run this, so you will be able to understand. So this is the example for mounting that is available. Okay, so this state, as I told you in the last lecture, we have already studied about what is the this state means. So first we have to give the variable and its value, and you just need to mention the variable over there inside the heading I have mentioned. Before that, you can see I have mentioned the render property, then only this component is going to work. Okay, and then I have mentioned the state property here. So after that, I hope you understood this much how to work for this. And then what is render actually? The render of method is required, and it is a method that actually outputs the HTML of DOM. Okay, so example is already available here. You can see the example, return h1 and the content of the header component. Okay, so this is how the render method work. It is always required whenever the method is actually going to provide any output to the HTML. Okay, so that is why we use it. The component did mount of method is called after the component is rendered. When the component is rendered, then only the component did mount of statement called. So statement that requires that the component is already placed in the DOM. When the element is already placed in that, then only the component did mount method is called. Otherwise, we don't need to call that. Okay. Then only, for example, here I am setting one time for it. Why we are setting? Because we have placed the component and we need to set the time for that. We are having the component, then only we are setting. Now, otherwise, we won't be able to set. What we are setting, we don't know. Okay. The next thing we are having here is update. What is update? So next phase in lifecycle is the component updated whenever there is a change in the component states or properties, or what we call props. So whenever there is a change in the state or the property, we have to update it. Okay. So then only we will get the what all the changes you have made or what all the changes is required. You have to made it. Then only we can update particular file. Okay. So there are few terms that are going to use. There are 5 build methods that get called in this order when a component is updated. These are the 5 different type of models that are available. The first one we are having is get derived state from prop. Okay. The second one is should component update. The third one is render, get snapshot before update of, and component did update. Okay. So these are the property. Here also the render method is required and will always be called, and the other are optional and will be called if you define them. Okay. Once you define them, then only it is available. Otherwise we don't need those options. Okay. There are few kinds of methods are available. The first method is that you call when the component is get updated. You have to update it again and again to get the details. Fine. So that is how you need to work on. Please read this one so you will be able to send it. Okay. Understand it. Okay. This is how you need to work. So here below I have mentioned one example. You can see this is the example I have mentioned. So that is, there are few kinds of example I have mentioned for all the should a component update, whatever the components that are available. I have mentioned all the examples. You just need to read it first. There are small changes are required. There are not so many changes. The codes are same, only the few changes are required. So I have done that. Okay. So there are some examples that are available on screen. So render method are used for everything that is available. So there is no problem for that. 5 kinds of properties are available, and every property we have to use the render property. Fine. So that is how we can do it. Fine. On the screen you can see that on screen the okay, all these things are available. We have given all the last one we are having is unmounting. So React has only one built-in method that get called when the component is unmounted. So what is it actually? When a component is removed from the DOM or unmounting, as React likes to call it. When it is removed from the DOM, then only we call it. So component will unmount. So when you need to remove any element or any component from the DOM, then only we use unmounting method. Okay. So in that case, on screen you can see that the component will unmount method is called when the component is about to remove from the DOM. The example is available here. So these are the methods that are available. You can see on screen. So that's all for today's class. Tomorrow we'll study about more features related to React. Thank you so much.